Alright, welcome back. In this section, I'm gonna introduce you to KoboToolbox. But first, I'll introduce myself. My name is Juma Shafara, and I'm a data scientist at Raising the Village and instructor at Data Idea. And this year, I set out to help people become data scientists by covering data science concepts in a simple and intuitive way. So far, we've covered the basics of Python and some Python libraries for data cleaning and visualization. We introduced ourselves to SQL for database management and Git and GitHub for project management. And in this part, we shall learn how to set up a good data collection tool using KoboToolbox. So what we are going to do is we shall do this in two parts. We shall have this simple presentation that will be really quick, and then in the second part we shall get into the practical bit where we shall create a questionnaire using this tool. So what is KoboToolbox? KoboToolbox is a platform that facilitates data collection, management, and analysis. So it's often used in humanitarian development and research contexts. This tool is very handy because it can work both online and offline with seamless data syncing whenever somebody is reconnected to the internet. It supports both smartphones and tablets, but also as a bonus, also supports desktops, okay, and laptops. So with all these gadgets, you can be able to use this amazing tool. KoboToolbox is very popular because of some amazing features that it comes with. One, it has a form builder, which is an easy drag and drop interface for designing surveys and questionnaires. So as we'll see in the practice part, we shall see this UI where we can just move around text and boxes until we have achieved our ideal questionnaire. Okay, and this tool supports all types of questions, including text, multiple choice, GPS coordinates, images, audios, okay, all kind of data that you may want to collect. Data can be collected offline, and this is where also it becomes very handy. So if you are in a remote area without internet access, no worries, you can be able to still collect data and it will be put to the database once you have an internet connection. This is possible because also KoboToolbox offers us a mobile app which is called Kobo Collect, okay, for offline data entry. The data that you collect with KoboToolbox is really secure. You can believe me. I'm gonna put a link in the description to the developers of this amazing tool and why you can trust it. This tool also offers us features for data analysis. So once you have collected data, you can quickly get some visualizations, okay, and run some quick interpretations from your data. But also you can be able to export this data as say Excel or CSV and do further data analysis. KoboToolbox also supports a lot of languages, so you can set up your questionnaire, and when you are collecting data, you can collect it in another language, say English, French, German, okay, among other languages. KoboToolbox is used by NGOs, okay, to monitor and evaluate their programs. Okay, it's also used by researchers for academic surveys. When I was at uni, we used to set up questionnaires using KoboToolbox to collect particular data for our research projects. It's also used in health surveys, humanitarian aid, governments and other agencies, okay, when they are evaluating their services, they will need to collect data and use this data to measure the impact of the services and programs that they are conducting in their communities. Other advantages of KoboToolbox is that one is that it's free and open source, so it is accessible to everyone. Okay, it is also very very user friendly. You don't need to know programming to set up a survey and manage it. Also, it's very very customizable. As you'll see in the practice part, you can be able to organize your form in any sort of way that you may like. One really important thing is the offline capabilities, where, as I said earlier on, you are able to collect your data, say over a mobile app or even in the web, and then once you're connected to the internet, your data will be pushed to the database. It is scalable, so you that means that you can use KoboToolbox for very little projects and also very very large projects. Okay, it is able to handle all sizes of projects. And then there is data integrity, so it has features to ensure for consistency and accuracy of data that you are collecting through the logics, validation rules, and constraints that you'll be able to see in the practice section. So overall, KoboToolbox provides us a robust, reliable, and user-friendly platform for data collection in any setting, whether you are in developed and urban areas or in very remote and not easy situation areas. Okay, KoboToolbox is a way to go. It's very, very flexible, friendly, and offers a wide range of features for all types of people. So whether you are working in academics or health or just even your own personal project, this is the tool that you want to use to get started collecting this data and evaluating your research or your program. All right, so with that, we shall jump into the practice part and then we shall see how this entire thing puts together into an amazing data collection tool. All right, so to get started with KoboToolbox, you can just open your browser. I have my browser right open here, and you can search in Google, you can search KoboToolbox, and the first link that results where you see KoboToolbox and then www.kobotoolbox.org, that's the option that we want to take. So you can just open that, and clicking on that takes you to KoboToolbox's homepage. Okay, it looks something like this, and here you want to either sign up or log in. Okay, so assuming that you are new to KoboToolbox, you want to sign up, so you want to click this sign up button. It's up here in the right top corner. Okay, you can just click on that, and then here we get to this page. Let me just reduce the size so that we can see well. Okay, this is good. So we have an option here for global KoboToolbox server, and then we have European Union KoboToolbox server. Global is most people use actually the global version, and it's the one that we shall be using today. Will allow us to use a free account. However, also other people use the Union KoboToolbox server. I believe my audience is more suitable for KoboToolbox server, the global one. So let's just get started with that one. But if you want to know more about the other one, either I'm gonna put a link in the description to read more details. Otherwise, we can click on create account. So once you click create account, you'll be presented with this page where you can insert your full name and your username, the name that you want to be recognized as moving forward. And then you can pass in your email, select your country, select the sector. Okay, these are all drop downs, so you can just click and select your organization if you have an organization. Okay, the type of organization you are working with, Okay, and then you can choose these optional ones. If you want to receive information about updates with KoboToolbox, you can check this button. Okay, and then you have to agree with KoboToolbox's terms of service and also the privacy policy. Make sure to click on those links to read the details. You just want to know how they work because you'll be sometimes collecting sensitive information. And then you can enter your password and then you confirm your password and then click create account. Okay, so when you click create account, you may be required to confirm your email. But for me, I already have an account, so I'm just gonna go back and I'm gonna log in. Okay, so this is my username and this is the password that I'll be using. You can't see my password. Then I'll click login. So when you click login, you'll be taken to this page. Okay, this page is where all the projects that we've been working on will be listed. And as you can see, so far we don't have any projects running. So no worries, we shall just get started and create a new project. We can see this big button where there is new. Okay, let's just click on that. And then when you click on that, you get this little pop-up window where we can select a project, which kind of project to choose from to get started. We can select to build from scratch, use a template, import an XLS form or import an XLS form via a URL. We shall explore these other three options in future, but for now we shall just click on build from scratch and then we can get started. Alright, so to build from scratch we need to set our project name. Alright, so we can say maybe let's call it KoboToolbox questionnaire, maybe KoboToolbox research, anything like that. And then we can add a description. Okay, maybe this is some research, some survey. Okay, some survey about KoboToolbox type. Okay, so once you enter your description, you also want to select the sector. Okay, so this is educational services. I'll just click on that. And then you want to select your country. You can select many countries actually. For now, I'll just select Uganda. I'll just be conducting this for Uganda. Okay, and then I can click on create project. All right, so to get started, we are presented with this blank form, and in this blank form, we just have this little box where they're saying this form is currently empty. You can add questions, notes, prompts, etc. by using the plus sign below. All right, so in the bottom left corner, we can see this little plus. Okay, this is the one that we shall be using to add questions to our survey. Okay, so let's just click that and we get this input field, and in this input field we can begin to enter our questions for the data that we shall be collecting. Now, to help us with this practice, I have this set of questions that I prepared earlier on for our practice. And so what we'll be doing is we shall be setting these questions into our survey tool questionnaire. Okay, so let's get started. I have a few questions. These questions are examining somebody's info or knowledge with KoboToolbox. So here we have this first section which collects somebody's personal information, including the name, age, gender, and email. And in another section, their experience with Kobo Collect. And another section, the technology access and use. Okay, so let's just begin with personal information. Okay, so in this input, we shall just enter there a question. For example, what is your name? Okay, and this one can even just be name and then somebody enters, but let's just put it in a question format like what is your name, and then we can click on add question. Now when we click on add question, we are presented with this extra pop-up window where we can select the data type of the response from the respondee. the person that is responding. Okay, so the name is gonna be text. Okay, there are very many options here. You can select, you can collect a point or area or not or file, date, video, audio. For us, we just want to use text for name. Okay, so it's simple like this. And let's add another question. We have age. Okay, so we can ask the person by clicking on that plus sign. Then we get this input. Then you can say, what is your age in years? Okay, really simple like this. And then we click add question. And age, we want to collect age as a number, okay, whole number. So if we search around, we can see an option here, 123 number. Let's select that one. Let's add another question for gender. And what is your gender? Okay, also this is a question, and now this one is a bit different. Also, this we want somebody to select from some options that we want to provide. So we want to provide maybe male, female, prefer not to say, or maybe other. Okay, so we just want to select one. So there's this option for select one. Okay, and this one allows us to set options, and we can modify this as you can see here, option one and option two. So let's just enter there male in option one. Then in option two, we remove what is existing, and then we can enter there female. Okay, now it seems like we're out of options. We can add another option, okay, by clicking on this little button down here that is gray, saying click to add another response. So let's just click on that. Okay, that gives us another option. So let's say other. Okay, and then let's also click on another. Here we want to add prefer not to say. Okay, so somebody doesn't want to disclose their gender. Okay, so we can give them that option. Okay, so let's wrap up this by collecting their email address. Okay, so let's just click on this and say, um, what is maybe your email? Okay, you can even just have a phrase like enter your email address. Okay, all right, so we can click on add. Now, as for now, I don't see an option for email, so I'll just use text, but it will just also serve as good. Okay, so once we are done setting up, this is the first section. Okay, we shall have a couple more other questions to follow to help us practice, but for now, let's just preview our form and how it will appear to somebody that is trying to fill it. And we can do that by using this big I button in the top right, top left corner. Okay, it's saying preview form. When you hover, when you click on it, it runs this preview window. Okay, and it takes a few seconds, but yeah, we get to see how this form will look like. And we have the title here. It's saying KoboToolbox research, and then they're asking what is your name, what is your gender, what is your age, gender, and email. Okay, so this looks good. Okay, and we can enter some data to test out how it's working. Okay, we can enter, for example, uh, Juma Shafara. Okay, we can enter our years, maybe in number. Okay, you will not realize, but I'm actually typing some text, but it won't enter because we restricted this input to be a number only. Okay, so let's wrap up by adding the gender, say male, and then the email address, and we shall enter this. This is my Gmail. Okay, so we can check we can validate our form. Okay, and it looks like this information was right and fitting the data types that we had selected for them. So this is good to go. Okay, so I'll just close this preview window, and this is how you can get started entering your questions. But this is not all. To ensure data validity and consistency, there are some few other settings to our questions that we can have. Okay,
All right, so before we get started with the validation, I just want to say that I added a few more questions. Okay, I added one other question here to check KoboToolbox usage. If have you ever used KoboToolbox before? And then the other one was, how do you rate your experience, your proficiency with KoboToolbox? And then finally, there was how many surveys have you conducted using KoboToolbox? Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is the settings, okay? To modify or set some rules, okay, for your question, you want to use this little settings icon and the settings button. That is what it is actually. So it's found in the top right corner for any particular question. When you click on it, it opens settings. And here I have the settings for question one, what is your name? And the settings, they are split in three parts. So the first part is question options, okay? As you can see, the other part is skip logic, and then the last part is validation criteria. We'll begin with question options. So here we have a few things that we can say about the question. One is the column name of the entries for this particular question. As I said earlier on, questions, whether responses for questions can be exported, okay, to Excel or CSV, and these files will have column names. If we just let it be as it is, we shall find that the column names could be the entire question. In this case, the column name for the names will be what is your name? And this may be okay, but in another time you may not want your column name to be like this. So you can modify this one to say just be name, okay? So once we are done collecting our data, we shall find that the column for name will not be what is your name, but it will just be name. Then there is guidance hint, and I'll talk about this later, but it just adds some information about this question. Then there is mandatory response. Mandatory response will allow us to set if a question is compulsory or not. We can set to yes if this question is compulsory, or we can set to no if this question is optional. We can also add some particular logic to set whether it is compulsory or not. For this particular question, what is your name? I'll just leave it to optional, no. We can also set a default response for a situation if the person responding didn't enter a response for this question, okay? The value you put in this section is what will be taken if somebody never entered. Alright, so there's a few other options, but I'll skip them for now. What I'll do is that I'll also set the column name for age, okay? You can do that again by accessing the settings here. So instead of having what is your age as the column name, let's have just age. Okay, and let me choose for age to be compulsory, so I'll just say yes. Okay, and then I can close. And also you can do the same for all other questions, but for now I just wanted to show you that you can do that. Alright, so in the next section we shall set up some skip logics. Alright, so let's set up some skip logic, but before we do that, let's first save our form. As for now, it's very important that you save for every change that you make, otherwise you may find yourself in a regrettable situation when your progress with the survey has all vanished. Alright, so the skip logic, what we want to do is it will allow us to skip some questions given a particular condition. For example, we can skip a particular question if the response in an earlier question was a given value. Let's try that out with this question here saying, how do you rate your proficiency with KoboToolbox? The thing is like this: to rate the proficiency, somebody has to first have used KoboToolbox before. So the response to this question here, have you used KoboToolbox before, should be yes. Alright, so let's come to our question here. How would you rate your proficiency with KoboToolbox? And then we open the settings. Okay, now in the settings, see there is this particular part where there is skip logic, and it's currently just empty. There is two buttons. There is add a condition, and also there is just manually enter your skip logic. So I will select add a condition, and the condition that we shall add here will be, we want to this question will only be displayed if the following conditions apply. So the condition is, if have you ever used to KoboToolbox before? If the answer is yes. So again, I click here to find this particular question, and then the answer is yes. Okay. Okay, this will be the only condition for now, but you can be able to set up very many conditions. All right, so let's save this and also let's close. Let's do the same for the other question here. How many surveys have you conducted using KoboToolbox? Somebody can say which number of surveys they've conducted if they've used KoboToolbox before. So again, let's go to the settings section, and in the settings section, let's go to skip logic, and let's add a question. And again here, this question will only be displayed if the following conditions apply. So let's select a question from the list. The question we want is, have you used KoboToolbox before? Okay, and the answer should be yes. Okay, so this is good. Let's save. All right, and close. Okay, so now if we preview our form so far, we shall see that those last two questions only appear if the response about usage of KoboToolbox was yes. We can use this I button to preview our form. Clicking on it creates this pop-up window, and in this pop-up window we shall have our preview. Here we can see we can enter our name. Okay, so we can enter our name like Juma Shafara. Okay, and we can enter our age. Now see that age is having some asterisk at the beginning here to mean this is having a condition. It's compulsory. Okay, so we can enter maybe like 45. Yeah, we can select male, then we can enter our email address. Okay, and then we can answer this question. Now before we answer, one thing you are probably have already seen is that before I answer, other questions aren't there. It's like we are at the end of the questionnaire. But once I enter yes, okay, other questions appear. Here they're saying, if yes, how would you rate your proficiency with KoboToolbox? And I can choose from great to average or poor. And also the other question is how many surveys you've conducted, and this one can be maybe a number like 5. Okay, but look, if I selected no, then they vanish. So this is one way we can ensure consistency in our data, and also skip questions that are irrelevant to a particular person responding. Okay, so if we validate, we shall see that everything that is required has been met, and our form is valid. Okay, so we can close for now. Um, in the next section, let's look at some validation rules. Alright, so let's set up some conditions to allow us to collect particular information in the format that it is supposed to be. Sometimes when you are carrying out a survey like this, you send forms to certain people, and you don't want a certain type of people to respond in particular ways. Okay, so for example, you may not want the age of a person to be greater than 200, because what the hell? You don't expect a person responding to be like 200 years. So the way we can put up a restriction for that is, again, we can come to settings. Okay, and in the settings we have a validation criteria somewhere here, so we just click on that, and then it's asking us to add a condition. So let's just add a condition, and they're saying that this question will be valid only if the following conditions apply. So this question's response has to be, in this case, there is greater than. Let's set it to be less than. So we don't want somebody to enter a value, for example, less than 200 for their age. And what also you want to do is you want to add some error message. In case somebody entered this value, what is the message that they will get? So one quick message you can say invalid input. Or you can be a bit more specific to add more context and meaning to your message by saying age cannot be greater or equal to 200. In fact, let's make it greater than or equal. Okay, so this question will only be valid if the age is less than or equal to 200. Okay, so it means that the question will not be greater than 200. Okay, so this is good. Let's just save and then we preview. Okay, now we are done saving. Let's preview our form. Again, this takes a little second, but we can see that, okay, our form gets ready in a moment. And let's just go to the age section here. If we try to enter some letters, of course they will not go in because this is age in numbers as we select the question to be. But look, if we enter some value like 300 years, okay, we'll see that it's saying that age cannot be greater than 200, and it returns this little red thing to mean maybe danger or something like that. So this is one way to ensure that all the data you are collecting with KoboToolbox is valid and meets the consistency and all the criteria that you have to ensure meaningful data collection processes. Alright, so in next chapter, we just want to see how we can organize our form further, and then we can do a wrap up for this beginner introduction to KoboToolbox. Okay, so let's look at a few ways we can organize our form, okay, and have it a bit more appealing. So one thing is you may want to move a question to a particular point. The way you do that is you click and hold and then move. So for example, I can move this age question up here to be above gender. I can move it back down. Okay, I can also move email to be in this section after the name. Just click and hold and then move. It's simple like that. Now the other thing is you may want to group your questions into sections, and the way you can do that is you can just select a few questions. The way you select is you click control, you press control and click. So when you do that, okay, you can see that this particular question is highlighted, sort of outlined in blue. Okay, I can pick another question, this one, and then both of them are outlined in blue. And then this other question is also now outlined in blue. Then the last one here is outlined in blue. I can put all these four questions into a particular category or section by now creating a group with this button here. There are some stacked boxes here, we can just click on them, okay, and then they create a group for us. And we can call this group, maybe let's call it personal information. Okay, so let's just do that. Personal information. All right. Also, we can add a little description into this collection, okay, by maybe adding a question. So let's add a question, and this question is gonna be text. Oh, it's gonna be a note instead. So this is the note, and this one will be maybe we can just put any note to mean that we'll be collecting some personal information. Okay, any note to describe this section, and this will be collecting personal information. This is sufficient for now, okay, but if you want to make it better, you can. Again, I can click and hold, and then you'll see that I'm able to move this one to the top. Okay, so now let's create another section for these other two questions at the bottom. uh, by the way, if you haven't noticed, I deleted one question, and the way you can delete is by using this delete button. Okay, anyways, again, to group these questions, we control and click like that. Then you can see that it's now outlined in blue. for the next one also we do control click, and it's also outlined in blue, and then we can group by using this group icon. Okay, so we have another group here, and let's call this group um, experience with KoboToolbox. Okay, experience with KoboToolbox. Alright, so we can also add some small notes, okay, about this section by adding as a question, and we can put some text like um, we'll be collecting information about uh, experience with Kobo. Okay, so when we click add question this time, again, because this is a note, we select note. Okay, so no, somebody doesn't have to respond to this. Now we can click and click hold and then move the question to the beginning of the section. And so if we preview right now, we shall see that our form, it will appear a bit more organized, okay, in two sections. So as you can see here, we have the personal information section, and it's also saying we will be collecting some personal information, and we also have another experience with KoboToolbox section, okay. And again, we can see that our skip logic works. If I click yes, then the other question appears. Okay, so our questionnaire now looks a bit more organized. Again, if you want to add like a description at the top here, you can do that to just, be more organized. So, we can click add, okay, and we can add some, uh, maybe some big introduction to what we'll be doing. Okay, and when we add this as a note instead. Okay, so we can move this one completely out, okay, to the beginning. Now if we preview, we shall see that there will be some brief introduction to this survey. Okay, the introduction is right here. So in this way, we have a really, really amazing survey to get started. Now you can be able to print out this survey, or you can save for now and then begin to collect data. Okay, so at this point, we can say we are done setting up our questionnaire. Okay, of course, you can be able to add a bunch more stuff, but this is just good enough for us to get started. And let's see how we can begin to collect data and do some visualization and basic analysis. Now, I will just close this. There is this X just close to the save button. If I close that, it takes me to this form section, and in this form section I can be able to deploy my form. To deploy the form is a way to make it available for people to begin responding or filling in data. So I'll click deploy. Before you click deploy, there are a few things you can edit, okay, you can preview, you can replace a form, and a bit more actions, okay, that you can do all that stuff. For now, let's just click deploy, and it's saying deploying to KoboToolbox. Okay, so our form is deployed. Now how will data collection begin? Okay, we can just select a few things here. We see collect data. In this section we see collect data and online offline multiple selection. This is already selected. Let's keep it like this so that somebody can be able to collect online the data online and offline. Okay, there is also this other extra feature for security saying allow submissions to this form without a username and password. So people that will be collecting some data sometimes, especially for offline, may be required to enter their password, okay, and username. However, you can also give them an option not to. Okay, so this is good. So you can just click copy, okay, and then the link this copies are linked to your clipboard, and that link is the link that you can begin to use to fill in data. I'll just open that in another tab. Okay, I'll paste it right here. And this link here is shareable to other people. You can share this link to all people that you want to respond, okay, to this questionnaire. Now this is what they will be seeing. They will be seeing a form like this, and they can begin to enter in some data. For example, I can enter my name. Okay, let's just enter some dummy data for practice. And then I can enter male. Then I can enter my age. And then I can enter my experience with KoboToolbox. I say no. Okay, and then I submit. Okay, so after submitting, here this one is requiring a login. Okay, and you can log in now. Okay, and then you submit. So I'll just log in with my details. And as I said, this one requires you to log in, but there was an option to allow people to submit data without requiring to be logged in. So I can just do that. Alright, so let's also add maybe some other more information. Maybe this respondent is Leila, and then they can enter maybe their email address as maybe Leila at data idea. And then these are female, and their age is maybe 65. Okay, and then they have used KoboToolbox before, and here we can see how many surveys they've conducted. This question appears, of course, after the skip idea, and let's say they've used only 3. Okay, and then we can submit. Alright, so all this data has been successfully submitted. How do we view it and visualize it? Okay, we can go back to our KoboToolbox. Okay, and now we have this data tab. Let's just click on that. This data tab will show us all the data that has been submitted so far. Okay, and we can see a bunch of information here. We see the start date, the end date, some section for personal information, the name, and all this, the age, and if somebody has ever used KoboToolbox before, and the person who submitted that data here, data idea org, submitted this data. Okay, it's really quick like that. You can generate some quick reports. Okay, here for example we can see what is your name. There are only 2 people, Juma Shavara and Leila. We can see the emails, there are only 2 emails. Okay, then we can see some graphs about gender. There is male and female, both take 50% of the data because there are only 2 inputs. Okay, we can see here the age. Okay, the mean is 55, the median is also 55, the mode is not known, because there are only 2 entries, and the standard deviation is 14.14. Some really nice report for us to get started with. Okay, now we can download this data by going to the download section here. Okay, so we can download this data maybe as CSV, and then you just select here CSV, and then you can select what will be the labels, and then you click export. Now clicking export will download this, will rather bring us this exports a small table at the bottom, which you can click download right here, and then that will download for you that file. Okay, all that data. So this is really very simple, as you can see. If you wanted to do some particular settings for this project, okay, you can always be able to change some settings about the project by coming to the settings tab. For example, you can update the name of the project, the description of the project, the sector, the country. Okay, and if you wanted to create a new survey, again you can just use this big blue button to create a new survey, maybe again from scratch, and then you follow the procedure. So this gives us a really good strong introduction to KoboToolbox. So what you should do is you should go ahead and practice. I'll have this linked in the description, but also keep hooked so that you don't miss out any upcoming updates in programming for data science. As always, I stay the same, Juma Shafara for Data Idea. Thank you and bye.